and welcome to Reasons for Everything, Currents for a Cake, a podcast all to do about learning and education, served up with a slice of fun. Well, my name is Bernard. I am an educator passionate about championing the power of school, learning and wellness. Sure, why imagining what a weird name for an educational podcast, Reasons for Everything, Currents for a Cake? Well, you have my granny to thank. So I've named this podcast in honour of my granny, who used to say it en route to me every time as a child I had asked those why questions. I asked questions about why certain things happen and why things happen the way they do. She used to rhyme off, there's reasons for everything and currents for a cake. So I thought, no better name for a podcast. So I'm going to take those kind of phrases and split them into two. So in this podcast, the reasons for everything is going to stand for deep dives into big questions and challenges currently facing the world of education. And the currents for a cake, I'm just playing a pun with the word currents, where we take a light take on the latest educational trends, paired with hopefully trivia and light-hearted humour. So today, hopefully we'll have a humorous dive into the theme of homework, maybe homework excuses, maybe look at the benefits of homework, and also maybe think, is homework worth it? And we'll have a bit of exploration on that today. So I'm not on my own. I have a wonderful counterpart called Jack, who wants to remain faceless for the moment, but I'll try and work on that. But Jack, I wonder if you sourced any funny kind of ditties about real life examples about homework excuses. What have you heard?
Yes, hello Bernard. I have indeed. I've been down the rabbit hole, and to be quite honest, a lot of these excuses are borderline phantasmagorical, to put it lightly. A lot of variations of a dog ate my homework, this, that, the other, but I particularly like this one. One teacher wrote anonymously, a child in my high school claimed that he couldn't do his homework because his grandmother wouldn't give him back his textbook, which she had taken in retaliation for his theft of her wooden leg.
Well, she's just right, my goodness. And also stop other things from happening if that happened too.
If you think that's a mad one, this is another one from the same board. Another anonymous teacher submitted this. One child told me his pet parrot flew into the fireplace and caught on fire.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good start.
It is, yeah. It's dramatic.
It then proceeded to fly around the sitting room, and his dad allegedly tried to hit it with a frying pan because he was afraid the curtains would go up in flames if the parrot went close to them.
Well, that's a genuine concern.
Yeah, absolutely. The dad, again, allegedly, I'm not sure if I buy this story, the dad allegedly then hit it into the kitchen and then grabbed it being the parrot, and threw it under a tap, because according to this child, you have to throw a parrot under a tap when it's on fire.
Clever
He said, he then added, this is the important detail, with all of the drama, he'd forgotten to do his homework. You would, if you're in that situation, quite frankly.
Well, it definitely beats the one I heard about, I just forgot it, or my hamster ate it. All those animal ones, I'm sure all the educators out there have heard. So that's a wee fun light look there into homeworks. But what about the origin? You're a historian, Jack. So what's about the origin of homeworks? Where did it all start?
Well, yes, actually, interestingly, it'd be very you'd be forgiven for thinking homework was a fairly modern phenomenon with the advent of modern schooling and curriculum. But you'd actually be wrong, because there's evidence as far back as ancient Egypt of students being tasked with hieroglyphic writing exercises to practice and reinforce their understanding of written language. And similarly, in ancient Greece, you had philosophers, like real household name philosophers like Plato and Aristotle, and they were advocating for written exercises to enhance intellectual development. And furthermore, if you look at ancient Rome, they utilised homework to consolidate classroom learning, and they focused predominantly on subjects like mathematics and literature. In other words, not all too dissimilar to our modern day curriculum.
Absolutely. So you mentioned there about Egypt and Greece. So what are the cultural differences and opinions on homework? I know, for example, when you think of China, you think, my goodness, a very thorough education system, a very long day for students where they work quite hard in school, but also they're sent with quite a lot of homework to do at home. And you ever wonder how they ever get any sleep. But it seems to be highly respected that the work done at home is to help overlearn, but also to prepare the student for future learning and future kind of endeavours. I know in America now that's kind of counteracted in terms of they're looking into quality over quantity, and they're also currently assessing the impact on student well-being based on the kind of homework tasks that are being assigned to them. But I'm highly interested in Finland, Jack. What does Finland? They go the opposite direction, don't they?
Yes, you'd be quite right in saying that, Bernard. Finland is renowned for a minimal homework policy whereby students typically receive very little homework. This approach, they would be keen to emphasise, prioritises play and extracurricular activities as essential for learning and development. They reckon this focus on quality education it really ought to prioritise comprehensive and engaging classroom experiences as opposed to a need for homework. They see the classroom as the main arena of prime learning experience.
Absolutely. As an educator, I'm all about evidence-based learning, and as a wee bit of kind of prep work for this podcast, I went to a wonderful website and forum called the Education Endowment Foundation, and anyone who's interested in the world of learning, particularly your school-based or academic, look into this foundation. Again, it's called Education Endowment Foundation. And what was great about this foundation is they carry out research. So everything that they look in a range of different areas that could be of interest for people who attend school and people who teach in them. And they actually carry out research based on those themes. So under homework, their key findings I found highly interesting. So they do say that homework does have impact with low cost. So it has a high impact based on low cost of implementation, as we all know. But what they found out was quite interesting. So there's more research based on homework and the benefits for post-primary students. There's less so for primary school students. In post-primary students, they say homework can have up to additional 5 months of attainment, whereas in primary school, it is up to 3 months attainment. They do caveat by saying this is a very small study, so more work needs to be done, but it's definitely a great starting point about homework. So they do say it has a positive average, more for post-primary than primary. But they also talk about in their study that some pupils, they look at their home learning environment, and some pupils do not have a quality inducing kind of environment at home to help them in their learning. So they kind of recommend schools to consider, which I know already happens, homework clubs and the like. It goes without saying that homework that is linked to classwork or homework that is linked to experiences that has already occurred in their learning, so it's sequential and cumulative and has that aspect of overlearning, is much more of a benefit. And they also looked at, and this could be a whole different podcast, actually it will be, on effective feedback. They say that those homework that had elements of effective feedback based on top of it had higher impacts on the learning for the student. So I think that's important for us. If you're going to give homework as a school, I think you have to try and maximise the benefit. So I definitely think that they're looking at feedback, and effective feedback on homework is quite a good thing to do. And they also finish by saying that the students need to know why they're doing the homework. Is it a specific area of knowledge, or is it develop fluency in a particular area? Interestingly, homeworks in primary and post-primary look different. According to the Education Endowment Foundation, in their study, they viewed homework in primary schools mainly to be reading, practicing, spelling, number facts, rote learning kind of style activities, very little to develop inquiry-based learning, more focused on kind of revision. And in homework kind of activities where post-primary students were more common in completing assigned tasks to do based on their lessons that they have experience in, or preparing for future learning and future lessons, and of course routine coursework. So it's very interesting to see the difference. They do see merit in homework. Overall there is impact, but based on our little conversations that we will explore further on this podcast, we have been out in the streets and we have asked different people, and a few things have come up that is worthy of note. For example, the range of homeworks, is it all one style, and is it catering for students who have different additional educational needs? So Education Endowment Foundation is a fantastic place for people to go and look up a range of areas that they have looked into. So that's what they think on homework. So as I mentioned earlier, we have gone on the street and we have asked people their views on homework, and there was one or two interesting thoughts. So have a little listen and have a wee watch as well. But we'd like to hear the voice and opinions of people out in the street. So I'm here out by the Titanic to find out what people's thoughts and feelings are around the theme of homework. So let's find out. All right, Levi, nice to meet you. And Ethan, thank you very much for joining us on the podcast here, Currents for a Cake. So we're talking about homework. Do you think there's any kind of merits for homework? Do you have any good experience for homework? Or do you think homework's is a no-go?
I mean, I think some ways it's good because you can work on the problems if you didn't understand it fully. But if you understand it, I don't really see a point.
Perfect. What about yourself, Ethan?
Likewise, I think that homework occupies a really weird niche in that if you don't maybe understand the subject, you would probably require more teaching of it, and if you understand it fully, then homework is a bit of a waste of time. And so homework really only affects that sort of narrow slice of people who understand it but need practice at it.
Very good. And in terms of homework, did you find homework suited to what you were trying to do, or you find it too hard when you're even thinking down in primary school level?
I think it depends on who's giving it to you, because it's really varied for me over the years, honestly.
I don't think homework necessarily has ever been challenging more than it has been sort of voluminous, in the sense that voluminous.
Good choice of word.
Yeah, in that it's not necessarily the content of the homework that's challenging. It's the quantity of homework that really gets to people.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time, Mr. Stockman. So here on podcast Currents for a Cake, Reasons for Everything, we're asking people their thoughts and opinions about homework. Do you have any good experience of homework?
I don't personally have good experiences with homework. My parents' attitude was good enough at school. So going home was family time and playtime. That said, it hasn't got me where I wanted to be in my career. That said, I'm happy where I am, but I would advise my nieces and nephews to do their homework.
Even from listening to you, I'm thinking maybe homework should be more practical based instead of just being like attainment based, with practical active learning activities at home. So thank you so much for your time. Do appreciate it. Have a good day. Thank you. Well, thank you so much there. That was great fun to the people who were able to give up their valuable time to be able to talk to me. We had a lot of conversations in and around before filming, after filming. It was actually quite good for me to know. Hello, it's me, a different viewpoint of me. Just realised when it came to editing for this podcast that there was a fantastic student from Belfast Met called Cara who didn't want to appear on camera, but I do summarise what she mentions later on the podcast. So look forward to hearing what she said. I think it'll be a very good idea to balance kind of homework-based projects in terms of having activity-based homeworks more than just kind of like academic style of learning. That opens up to all abilities. And I also think it keeps students engaged as well. And I do think in terms of the likes of Cara, it may be a very simple kind of reasonable adjustment to allow students to pick how they present their homework. Cara was able to speak offline, and she was saying that she would have liked oral presentations because she found reading and writing difficult. And I think that's a very brilliant idea from Cara and a very reasonable adjustment to put into place. So homework, yeah, it's there. I don't know if it's ever going to go, but if it has impact, I think we should be thinking about the quality experiences that we're giving our students on homework. Make sure it's cumulative, make sure it's sequential based on things that they've already explored and learned about in class. Make sure can we have that reasonable adjustment of how it can be presented, and also give them a range and different types of homework, more than just kind of rote learning. Can they apply it to kind of like problem solving and more practical styles of learning at home? I know that really works well for primary school students. So I love being out in the street. I love getting people's viewpoints based on range of educational themes. So if this perked your interest and you would like to be involved, there's two ways you get involved. I'll put the link in the bio and also the captions. The first way you can get a voice is if you want to hear your voice in the podcast, there is a voice form where it's very simple. You click on the link and you can record and speak into your views. Right now, I'd love to hear your views on homeworks. So if you want to leave a voice note all about homeworks and your experiences, good or bad or indifferent, we would love to hear from you. Also, if you don't want to, there is an online form where you can just simply write and I will read out what you're thinking. So, and based on podcasts, we will kind of, on the next podcast, revisit what we talked about previously. Like all good learning should always be over learning. So I can't wait to hear from you. I'd love to hear what your thoughts on our current debate is on homeworks and the benefits of. But if there's anything in education that you're really passionate about, it could maybe help me form a new podcast session on. So if there's anything in education that you are interested on, please contact us. I can let you know the next few. So we're thinking about ed tech trends that maybe need a little bit of baking. So it's kind of like playing on the name of currents for a cake. There's a lot of topical interest areas, including wellness, but also currently right now is use of ed tech for ped tech and artificial intelligence and use of education. So I'd be very interested if you want to maybe share your opinions and views on that. We're also looking at teachers and are they really superheroes? Are teachers doing too many things? Are they trying to solve so many societal difficulties at the moment? Could be a little bit controversial, but that's a good thing. It sparks thought and debate. Of course, we'll do it very respectfully. We'll also be looking at, are schools obsessed with data? Why is data being asked for? Why is it being used? And are schools using it to the best of their ability? And also looking at meeting a range of additional needs within school-based environments and how best to do that. So there's a range of ideas that you can make contact with us, and I'd love to hear your thoughts and opinions. So thank you for joining today. Today, as a recap, was about homework. We talked about the origins. It's been here for millennia. It's from Egypt and old Greece times, right through to modern day. And we've looked at cultural aspects of homework and how they're different in different cultures, but mainly that the homework does have a benefit according to the Education Endowment Foundation, but it more seems to have a better kind of attainment value for post-primary students. So thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. This is Reasons for Everything, Currents for Cake, and I'll see you next time.